Our travels have brought us to Virginia's Frontier Cultural Center here in Staunton, Virginia. And it turns out our visit coincides with a $7 million expansion project. Among other things, they're adding a 40,000 square foot gallery. But to see the new facilities, we'll need to return in 2027. However, there's no reason to wait 2 years because the center is still open. First stop is to buy tickets here at the Welcome Center. Our first stop we come to is this temporary West African site. The structures in this exhibit are similar to those found in hundreds of small villages in 18th century West Africa. Dominant tribes found profit in raiding and capturing the inhabitants of nearby villages and selling them as slaves. Large numbers of West Africans found their lives turned upside down when attacked, captured, and led away in shackles. They were sold and shipped to Europe, South America, the Caribbean, as well as the American colonies. These people brought with them their cultural traits, traditions, and customs, impacting and contributing to the overall American culture we know today. Music such as jazz and bluegrass have been influenced by the West Africans, as are foods like black-eyed peas and okra. This English timber frame farmhouse originally stood in Worcestershire in England. It was disassembled and rebuilt here in 1977. Dating from the 17th century, it was built by a yeoman family. The yeomen were basically the middle class of English society. With farms large enough to produce surpluses, they sold grains, meat, and wool in area markets, which is how they remained profitable. Going inside, I see this large bed, and a small table right in front of the fireplace. To the right, let's get in focus, looks to be a work area. This is the main room with a large dining table and cooking hearth. While few yeomen left England, many of their laborers did. Many came to the New World as indentured servants. Completing their labor contract, they typically farmed like the yeomen they remembered from back home. Outside is a work area which includes this shave horse, along with a foot vise to hold the workpiece firmly in place, and a draw knife used to shave and shape the wood. Outside the kitchen, several planting beds for not only food, but for herbs used in seasoning dishes. Nearby is the farm's cattle shed. English settlers had a strong influence on American culture, particularly when it came to law, government, and language. This is an early blacksmith shop. It was moved here from Northern Ireland and dates to the 1700s. Blacksmiths were a vital part of the growing colonies in America. It was the blacksmith that made and repaired tools, shoed horses, and made nails and hardware used to build homes. It sounds like the smith is in this morning. The prospect of a better life lured some of these artisans to the New World. Others were actively recruited when colonies desperately needed their skills. But come they did, not only from Ireland, but from all over Britain to the Virginia colony and others. Looks like he's lighting the forge and getting ready for the day. Some of the items made here. And tools used in the forge. They all made important contributions, spurring the economy and shaping the American culture. Remaining in Ireland, next we come to an Irish farm. This area illustrates an Ulster tenant farm. Originally built in the 1700s, the home and barn were moved here from the town of Drumquin in County Tyrone in Northern Ireland. Most Irish farmers were tenants who rented the land from English and Scottish landowners. Here in the front yard is what looks to be a dovecot or dove house with a thatched roof. During the 18th century, political and economic unrest in Ireland resulted in tenant farmers immigrating to America in search of a better life and the prospect of owning their own land and farm. Thousands immigrated from Ulster, who we commonly refer to today as Scots-Irish. Let's go inside and chat with the lady of the house.
Welcome to our Irish farmhouse. We're just kind of trying to give you an idea of how a family would have lived in this house about 1750.
Okay.
Many families that are living in Northern Ireland, that region is called Ulster. A lot of them are Protestants, and many of them are from the lowlands of Scotland. That's the heart of the Presbyterian Church.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a lot of Presbyterian families in Northern Ireland. They were bribed to come over to Northern Ireland to rent out farms. They were offered long-term leases with very favorable rents. What the government gets out of it, they get Protestants in Ulster, so if there is a rebellion by the native Irish Catholic families, then they have more Protestants in the north to help put that down.
They were the pioneers, typically settling out on the far western edges of the mid-Atlantic colonies. The barn? Due to their sheer numbers, they perhaps had the most impact on America on the East Coast. They influenced our architecture, language, education, religion, and food. And the kitchen garden. America that way, and Ireland is behind us. Germany straight ahead. So let's go to Germany. This timber frame house was moved here from Germany. The architecture dates from the 18th century and is typical of Germanic farming villages. Some of the tools used to begin processing flax into linen and other products. In the 1700s, Germany was part of what was then known as the Holy Roman Empire. Similar to the Irish, German-speaking peasants did not own the lands they worked. They were required to pay their territorial lord a portion of their annual harvest or provide labor. The region we know today as Southwest Germany suffered from famines, religious persecution, and high taxation. By the early 1700s, peasants began to migrate in search of a better life. By the thousands, they left Southwest Germany. They went to places like Prussia, Hungary, and the American colonies. The German immigrants brought to America traditions in architecture, food, and the decorating arts. They brought strong beliefs in self-governance of their churches, families, and communities. The German language endured in early America for generations and is still spoken in Amish communities. The traditions and beliefs of these early German immigrants have now been woven into and become part of the broader fabric of today's American culture. Now that we've been to West Africa, England, Ireland, and Germany, it's now time to head to the American colonies and see how all the people that came and settled in the New World lived. But that will be in part 2. So, until the next time, remember, life is a journey. Enjoy the ride, and thanks for watching.